Hi, welcome back to the breadboard. Kids back at school now. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math is becoming a big thing in schools around the world. And I've had a few requests to update some of my Arduino tutorials and things like that I published quite a few years ago. So with that in mind, I have got a couple of Arduino starter kits to review and also to use as the basis for some new tutorials. So I was approached by a company called Elegoo to see if I would be interested in having a look at some of their new Arduino kits. So I asked them if they could send me a basic Arduino starter kit and also a robotics starter kit, which involves building a small car and running experiments with it, line following, all that kind of stuff, obstacle avoidance. So they did. So I have them both here. This is as they were received. I'm assuming I haven't opened these yet. They're still actually factory sealed. This one, I believe, will be the Arduino Uno basic kit. These are available from Amazon. I'll provide some links in the descriptions for them. And the other one, which is a lot bigger and heavier, is presumably the car kit. Now they're aimed at, probably, I would assume, different age groups because the car kit's going to be more complicated programming, etc. So what I'm going to do right now is run through basically a mailbag unboxing kind of thing, have a look what's in here, and then in separate videos I'm going to run through some of the experiments for each of these kits individually, and then subsequent to that, when I start doing some more tutorials, starting from some very basics again, because it's been a long time since I did a basics one, and a lot of the code is now deprecated, so it needs updating. Anyway, we'll have a look at these, do all that stuff, and see what we make of it. Now, Elegoo is not paying me for performing a review or anything like that, so this is going to be unbiased. If any bad parts are found, I'll highlight them, and obviously I'll highlight any good parts too. I've done a review of a few kits in the past, and one of the things that was quite common in those kits were some of the components that just would not fit into a breadboard properly. They would destroy the connectors the minute you try, and these were typically potentiometers and push buttons that were just basic ones with the great big connectors for soldering. And big enough that they would also provide some structural integrity on a PCB. On the other side of that, we also have found in the past there were things like resistors that were really too small to even stay in a breadboard. So these are the kind of things I'll be looking out for as we go through these. Now, why now? Well, kids have just gone back to school, so they may be asking about this when they get home in the science classes if they've started working on this kind of thing. And also, depending on where you are and where you order from, it may take you a little while to get one. These would make potentially really good Christmas presents. Now, I'm not recommending it yet, haven't done the review yet, but we'll see when we open them up. So let's get to the bench and open these up. We'll do the Arduino basic kit first, and then we'll do the car kit and see what we get. Okay, first kit. So first thing to point out, by the way, is that these were shipped to me via Amazon, so they came quite quickly. They're actually stored, they're provisioned by Amazon but sold by Elegoo. So the nice thing is that if you're ordering it through Amazon, you'll get them pretty quickly typically, as opposed to a lot of the China, Asia kind of orders through eBay and places like that, where you might wait a month or more. And certainly here in Canada, I will often wait well over a month before anything arrives from Hong Kong or Shenzhen or something like that. So it's very nice to have got this within a couple of days of agreeing and getting the details sorted out. So that's very good. And this was just sent through to me as an Amazon order. It wasn't a special case or anything like that. So that's nice to know. Second thing is that the packaging actually comes with a message on the back of it. It's sealed, and it tells you that if the seal is broken, then don't sign for the package, reject it, because obviously there's lots of little parts in here and things like that. The company's making every effort to make sure that you get everything that you've paid for and that it's not been interfered with. I know sometimes customs may well open a package to have a look what's inside, so be aware. it does have this. So they've packed it quite well. This is bubble wrap shipping. This is actually inside the Amazon packaging. So they're probably pulling these off of the shelf, sticking them in the Amazon box, and then shipping them out. So that out of the way, let's get inside here. Glued down anyway, even though there is the seal over there. Okay, here we go. So this is the Super Starter Kit Uno R3. So this is for an Arduino Uno revision 3, which is a classic Arduino 18 mega 328P, or it may not be a P. Well, it looks like on the picture it's a P because that's the dual inline package for the kit. I actually like the dual inline package because it's usually in a socket, and it means if you do, for some unseen reason, make a critical error when you're wiring things up and maybe you blow up the 328, it's very easy without having to solder to replace it. And you can get the replacement chips for just a few dollars from all over the place. So, comes in a nice little, pretty sturdy package. Doesn't look like there's anything wrong with that. Decent clips instead of just the living hinge type of clips. So what do we have? We have a complete description of what's in this. So let's have a look. We've got a little thank you note. Yep. Just in case you're wondering, there's the complete picture. Hopefully that's focusing. We have a DVD with a PDF, code, libraries, etc. on here. I don't know if there's a date code, but it should be everything you need to get going. Also, there's a download link, so you probably can get some more updated ones from there. So this is version 1, dated 2018. We're already 3/4 of the way through 2019, but not a huge amount will change. Then you may find that some of the Arduino libraries in the Arduino IDE might want updating, and that'll be a pretty simple thing. I guess we'll find out. All right, what's in the box? So let me just zoom in a little bit more. Get this kind of lined up there. That's good. So a lot of small jumper cables and medium and long ones for plugging into the breadboard. These are round pins. They tend to work quite well. Occasionally you might get one with a bad connection on the wire. It becomes quite obvious when you find them. These don't look too bad. Typical USB, sorry, get it in view. Typical USB cable. Looks like it's about 18 inches long or something like that. So we have our joystick here. Doesn't have the cap on it yet, but I can see, oh, it's also got a button on it. That's nice. I can see that it's actually potentiometers. If you look in there, you'll see, probably just see the connections going through to the PCB. 3 wires, so you've got the pot there and a pot on the other axis, and you have a push button on here. There's a cap for it right here, which will just push on the top. Now it makes it a little bit easier to use, which is nice. That'll be interesting to play with. Our 6x2 row LCD panel, and I just noticed this one has a single row set of pins already soldered into it. I've seen so many kits. In fact, this is the first kit that I've seen, I think, where it come with the pins already soldered on. And I'm a firm believer that if you're going to sell a kit aimed at a beginner and no soldering is required, then no soldering should be required. Having the pins already on means you don't have to do it yourself, and it's ready to go to plug into a breadboard. So that's good. We have a little fan. I guess that's to go on top of the a DC motor. We've got the stepper motor. Looks like it's a geared one. 5 volts DC stepper motor. like I say, it's a unipolar. So you've got the 4 connections and then a common area for this, I would imagine. So we're probably going to be, or I'll go through that when we actually do some of the experiments. This looks like the power adapter board for the breadboard. So you've got a barrel connector, USB connector, which you could provide power with, on-off switch, LED indicator, couple of voltage regulators, so it's going to give you 3.3 and 5 volts, pins on the bottom to go into the breadboard for you. That's nice. Looks like it's fairly well made. Black PCB, actually made by Elegoo, not by somebody else. Input up to 12 volts, which is nice. Now remember, these are linear regulators, so if you are running this with 12 volts in here, then these may get quite warm if you're doing something that's drawing a reasonable amount of power. Standard SR04 ultrasonic sensor, so you've got a transmit module, a receive module, you send it in a pulse, you get an echo back kind of device. A little bit of electronics on the back. We'll have a closer look at that when the time comes, but that's for doing distance measurement. You can use it for obstacle avoidance and stuff like that. Small remote control, looks like it's geared towards media playing. A nice, looks like a reasonably made battery adapter to barrel connector for powering your projects if you're using the battery. Elegoo's own branded breadboard. I should remember that, went out of my head for a second, seeing as that's the name of my channel. Looks pretty stiff. I know it went creak there because I was twisting it a little bit. Looks like it's made out of 3 separate moldings. You've got the power rails. There's 2 separate moldings, and then you've got the, how many ways is this? 65 way by the look of it. Yeah, 64, 65 sets, so there's plenty enough for a lot of projects. Sticky pad on the back if you wanted to peel it off and stick it onto something. Most people don't. I do have other breadboards where I've stacked a whole bunch of them together. Set of DuPont connectors, and then the nice thing on these is it's got male on one side and female on the other, which is great for instance if you're going to plug in your display and you want to have it like wired up and then plug straight to the breadboard. So that's good. DHT11 temperature sensor. Very nice sized 4-digit 7-segment LED display. There's our relay. It looks like the pins are small enough to go into a breadboard easily, which is nice. And that's our single-digit LED display. It's basically the same LED as these, except it's not multiplexed across 4. You'll see the difference when we start programming those. That's our little infrared receiver. It's a typical, looks like a 32 kilohertz modulated type of IR receiver. The 32 kilohertz modulation, by the way, is to make it less sensitive to things like ambient light saturating it and things. What else is in here? We have our small 10K potentiometer, little adjuster to go in the top of it to let us adjust. Now, here's the one downside. This does have PCB type connections on it, so they're not the best for plugging into a breadboard. So that might be something that I would mention to them. But I'm not sure if there is a decent alternative either. I've never seen one that's really good for plugging into breadboards, short of having it on a little header. I think if they took one of these and put it on a little header like this, that would make it much more usable because you've got these pins that are not going to destroy the breadboard. Right, that's the end of that tray right there. I guess that piece of foam was for the potentiometer. Okay, on the other side, we'll work our way down. So we got the DC motor. It's already pre-wired. Again, nice to see, pre-wired with a couple of DuPont headers pins on here to go into the breadboard. which is great. And I guess our little fan here will be able to be plugged on the top to make a bit more of a visual demonstration. Very hard to see if it's turning when all you see is this shaft. You'll hear it, but difficult to see it. We have a, this looks like a stepper motor driver. So a little jumper on the side, so you can select whether you're working it off of 5 volts or 12 volts for the stepper motor drive. We've got our inputs in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is probably a ULN 2003. It is actually. It is a ULN 2003. So we've got 4 LEDs for the that match the output of the stepper driver. The stepper motor would plug into here, and you would drive it through this. These ULN 2003s are really nice devices. They've been around for a long, long time, but they are very, very well-established drivers for low-powered stepper motors and other LEDs and other things too. So that's really nice to see. We've got our standard servo motor. This is the kind that would be used in remote control cars, planes, and things like that. And interestingly, I want to actually do some projects. I've been showing some videos in the past where I've got some radio-controlled cars and some transmitters and some quadcopters. But what I'm going to be doing there is describing how this system works. So I've already got a few servos, but this is yet another one we can use, and I can show you how, and will show you how, this works all the way from a transmitter all the way through the radio waves into something like we'll use this Arduino and drive a servo from it. So that'll be nice to see. That's the end of that part. We've got our resistors here. I didn't show you that before. There's like 100 odd of them here, so it's probably going to be 10 or so of each different kind of value. So we've got 220 ohms, quite a few there actually, 330 ohms, 100 ohms, 5K, 1 meg, 100K, 2K, 1K, 10K, and 10 ohms. So quite a range. We may not get to use all of those, but there's quite a nice decent range to let you make voltage dividers and current limit for driving LEDs and things like that. So that's nice. And put these back in this. Yeah, just gonna put them in here for now. Sometimes putting them in and out of the bags is a bit of a pain. Good for assembling kits. All right, here's our Arduino compatible Uno. So let's pull it out of the bag. So standard USB connector, power block, 5-volt regulator for the Arduino ATmega 328P. We've got the ATmega, probably a 32U4 or a 16U4 USB to serial adapter. Now this is actually a full-blown microcontroller in its own right, but because of the cost, they make very good USB to serial port adapters. There are some Arduino Unos or Arduino boards that you can get where the whole board is actually based around this chip, because it does have its own I/O and things like that. In this case, it's providing the serial communications to the Arduino ATmega 328. So this board is actually built by Elegoo itself, which is nice. No bodges or anything like that, mind you. This is a very well open source, well established design, so there shouldn't be any issues with errors and things on it. And Arduino have always made all of their designs completely open source, so there's nothing to stop other people from making them. What else? Here's a small header. This is a daughter board to plug into the Arduino Uno. Got a few beeps and things going on my phone there, sorry about that. So it's not glued on, not stuck on yet, so you got a little stick on here. You could actually make your own circuitry on here if you wanted to have something more permanent. Plugs into the Arduino, so if we take the Arduino here. Now the nice thing about the Arduino is that sometimes it's a bit of a pain, but there is only one way to plug these in and get all the connections, because there's a offset, it's not a 0.1 inch gap in here, so it prevents you from plugging these in the wrong way. But anyway, that's all you do, is you plug it right in there, and you have access to all of the pins from the Arduino. You can put your circuit on here. This is actually meant for just putting your breadboard stuck in there, but as I said, these prototype boards, you can buy them separately and make them up and put your circuitry directly on them if you wanted to have a little permanent fixture. We've got 5-volt rails available, ground rails available there, a little sock chip here. We've got the ICSP over here. We've got a reset button. We have a switch connected to probably one of the GPIO pins, I would imagine, unless it's sitting there waiting to go somewhere else. So yeah, that pretty much covers everything that you would probably want to do for small experiments right there. So that's nice. I'll just leave that plugged in there for now. Pile of RGB, sorry, you've got an RGB, we've got two of them actually. We've got red, yellow, blue and white, presumably white LEDs. Without powering them up, you can never be 100% sure, but anyway, that's a nice set of LEDs to use there, and the leads are full length, so that's good. We've got our powerful cell, extra heavy battery. I think they mean heavy duty. 9 volt, so that will drive your project for a while. It's not rechargeable, so once you've used it, it's going to be getting tossed. Our light sensors. These are photoresist sensors. We also have the bead thermistor in here. We just open this up so we can have a little look. None of these are particularly sensitive to touching, so that's fine. We've got our two 1N4007s with these the diodes here. So we'll drop those in there. We've got our two light sensitive resistors, LDRs, light dependent resistors, I guess is what LDR stands for. We've got 5 little push button switches. Now again, this is the other area. Now these are smaller switches, so it looks like the pins will go in, but and we've got our thermistor here as well. I'm just going to drop that in here a second, because if you look at the pins on this, you'll see that, getting muck on my hand, they are actually bent. So they won't easily go into the breadboard as they are. You'll probably have to use a pair of pliers and straighten them up a little bit so they'll go in. I wouldn't recommend trying to push these in right the way they are, because they will probably damage the breadboard. We'll get to that when we go through. We've got some more components in another bag here. I don't think these were mentioned in the list. Well, the buzzers were. They are in here. So we've got a buzzer here, which looks like it's got polarity on it. So we've got two buzzers. I think one of them is active because it's got a magnet in it. Oh, they both have a magnet in them. Anyway, we've got 2 buzzers. One actually has a label that just fell off on it, telling you to remove it before you use it. So one of these might be just simply a ceramic kind of buzzer. The other one may be a self-resonating buzzer. We'll find out as we go through. A couple of the 2N22222 transistors. We have our 74HC595 and a NXN L293D. I'll look up that and put it on the screen to let you know what that is. So that's our components. I think that's everything. Okay, let's just get rid of some of the extra things here. So that's all of the parts that are in here. So it's quite a comprehensive set of components. There's quite a few different projects you could do with this. Nothing to stop you adding your own components to this as well, of course. So yeah, aside from a couple of very minor things, which was the potentiometer could do with a little daughter board to help it plug in properly, and I guess the same thing would apply to the push button switches. I will show you, if you are up to soldering, I will show you how to easily add some pins to those so that they plug in a little easier. It's relatively simple to do. Sorry, it's not a capacitor at all, it's a tilt switch. See, you can hear it rattling there as I'm doing it. So that's probably why this thing is not saying a squat about what it is. It's simply a tilt switch. So that's good. That makes quite a nice little kit here that we will go through and investigate in our detailed review when we go through some of the tutorials and examples that are on the CD and stuff like that. Anyway, now let's go look at the other package. Okay, next up is our robot kit. So let's just get this open. There we go. So we have the Smart Robot Car Kit version 3 US. So we've got app for iOS and Android, obstacle avoidance projects, auto following project, infrared remote project. What else is written on the outside of this? If you have any questions, please contact us at service@elegoo.com. So, cellophane wrapped. Same thing applies, by the way. The outer wrapper had that little warning saying if it's broken, don't accept it, send it back, because they shouldn't be getting broken into before they get to you, that is. Alright, here we go. Let's have a look now in this one. So this one looks like it's wrapped up a little differently. Same little thank you letter. Robot Car version 3 tutorial. So we'll have a look at those when we go through the detailed and try out some of these projects. So it looks like we've got 4 boxes in here. So let's get this long skinny one dealt with first. This looks like some acrylic panels for the car. They look like they're identical. Nope, they're not quite identical. This one looks like it's to take the servo. So laser cut acrylic panels. They're both marked A, but they're clearly different. So one is not A, one is probably B. And I think I remember seeing somebody mention that. So that's something that Elegoo probably wants to fix in their creation of these. One of these is actually not an A panel. Anyway, looks like they're nice, thick, 1/4-inch, well-made panels. So start with the biggest, work our way to the smallest. This one looks like more car parts. So we have our motors. Looks like they're geared motors, which is nice. So should get plenty of traction. We got 4 of them, so 4-wheel drive. We have a battery holder. We have a remote control, this time geared more towards driving a car or something. So technically a slightly simpler remote, but the principles of operation will be exactly the same. We have 4 nice wheels designed. It looks like there's soft rubbery tires on them. They will go onto the motors, and we have our USB cable. So let's get that put back in here just for a moment so we keep it all together. When we follow the instructions, they may be mentioning which package to pull things from. We'll see. So next box. One of these is going to contain an Arduino, I'm sure. Aha! So the US on the front of this big box is actually to tell us that it is a US build. And what we have here, which is really nice, is a couple of 2,200 milliampere hour lithium ion, 3.7 volts, 8.14 watt hours. Anyway, a couple of batteries provided and a charger for them, which is really, really nice. So that would be great for powering our project. We also have another ultrasonic sensor, same as the one we had in the basic kit. This is, yeah, it's exactly the same, an HC SR04. We have some electrical tape, just a short roll of it, so I'm sure that's for tidying up wires and things like that. We have a servo. For some reason it has been pre-mounted on this piece of plastic molding. Probably going to be for driving the Looks like it's for mounting this on, so it can probably scan in front of a car. That's guessing, but I'm probably correct on that if I remember my little initial investigation. So power supply, by the way, is CE certified, as everything that's sold in Canada has to be. FCC rating, lithium ion, so they're not lithium polymer batteries, it's a lithium ion charger, so these are probably lithium ion batteries. DC 4.21 amp output, 500 milliamps times 2. It's quite lightweight, but then again, you know, what do you really expect? We'll give that a test out anyway when we go through the projects. Let's just get everything back in here for the moment. Again, all these parts look reasonably well made, so I've got no complaints. Nothing stands out so far. Yeah, we said we'll go from biggest to the smallest, so let's pick this one now. There's a whole bunch of parts in here. Let's open these up so we can see what they are. There's nothing in the lid to say what comes in the kit this time. So this looks like a triple transmitter receiver infrared sensor with a, looks like a threshold balance. This is probably for things like white line following. So you'd probably have this one running along, oh sorry, black line following, but line following. You'd probably have this one following the center line, and then these ones would detect if you deviate as you're motoring along on either side of that. Again, we'll have a look at that as we go through and do the projects. We have the exact same Arduino Uno compatible Elegoo Uno R3 board, so 80 mega 328p, reset button, programming headers for each of the chips, standoffs for plugging your project wires into, etc., etc. We have a header board here for the Arduino, which looks like a breakout board for a number of different smaller boards. We've got the a line tracking header, the LN298N power, LN298 control. This is going to be the motor controller probably. A Bluetooth UART port, so this has got Bluetooth in here, and an ultrasonic sensor, which was that SR04 that we saw earlier. Also has the infrared receiver built right on here, which is great. We've got a V in, because this is going to take a bit more power than what should be pulled through the Arduino Uno pins themselves. And then we have a lot of the I/O brought out on these headers. This will be for servos and things like that. So does this board have an actual, yeah, it's called a car shield, again designed by Elegoo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anything else on here of note? 3 volts reference, motor M1, M2, M3, A0. Nope, nothing else particularly of note here. Oh, servo connection I didn't mention, so that's good. Everything you need to build your little car kit. Now this doesn't stack any higher, so there's no stackable pins through that. Next board we've got here, looks like a Bluetooth module. It's got a little antenna on it for sure. So this is going to be our Bluetooth module. I can get it out of the container. 3.3 volt power, 3.6 to 5 volts. It's going to have a regulator on it. ZS040. So we've got transmit, receive, status, power, and ground. It's covered with a little plastic protection so you don't touch the chip. It looks like a Texas Instruments Bluetooth module on there, a CC2540. So it's one of their little 2.4 gigahertz radios. Now these are often used in a lot of toys and things like that as well. Very popular and well known, so it's nice to see that they're using quality components on here. And I guess the last board in this box is going to be the motor controller. Now, because we're driving these big motors here, and we're going to be having a car sitting on it, this is a lot more powerful than the motor controller that we saw in the other kit. Sorry about all the rattling there. There we go, get it out first. So we've got the motor controller, nice heatsink connected to the motor controller. We've got our few outputs on here, one for each motor to connect to. Got our power connection. And we have our drive. So it's motor 0, 1, 2, 3, sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, and a common. Last box. Okay, screwdriver. Well, yeah, sorry, hex wrench. Has a little screwdriver, but it's a hex driving. So I'd imagine all these screws here are going to be the same. Oh, they're not the same head. Does this come out? No, it doesn't. Oh, we've got different size screwdrivers, which is nice. So tools are provided, which is excellent. Two different crossheads, a small one and a medium. We've got our hex wrench. These screws are, the big ones are the hex and all the small ones are the crossheads by the look of it. Nuts and bolts, so these are all going to be required for assembly. So this, the extra pieces from the servo with little horns and stuff like that. A bit more plastic, looks like it's something for the servo to mount on. For the kit, some long screws, more screws and nuts, more screws and nuts and standoffs. I'm not going to pull all these out, there's no point right now. Standoffs, more screws and nuts, long standoffs and lots of screws. We've got some metal brackets for the motors, so there's aluminum blocks, 4 pieces. So we've got 4 pieces of aluminum block in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and screws for mounting them. I'm assuming this is for securely mounting the motors to the acrylic case. This might be worth trying my first ever live stream to do this, and then we've got all the cables to connect it all together. So all in all, it looks like quite a comprehensive kit. Everything is provided, including the tools for assembly. Now, the tools don't look the greatest of quality, but really, you know, how many times are you going to put this together? I would say once. So when we do this, I will try with these to see how well it goes together. I'll resist using my own tools for it, because a lot of people that buy this may not have their own tools specifically, and they'll be tempted to use these. So we'll try them when we do the assembly. So that is, I think, everything. We will quickly go on the Elegoo website and check the specs on there. And then that'll be it. So I will be publishing 2 more videos shortly after this one. One for each of the kits. We'll go through, obviously with the car kit, we'll go through the complete assembly and get the code working and try out some of the code examples. And maybe discuss some of the other things that you could potentially do with it. So yeah, it looks like quite a nice comprehensive kit. Let's get to the website and have a quick look there. Okay, here we are on the Amazon website, where you can pick up your own Elegoo, or it's Elegoo. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. As I said, I'll try and find out. Anyway, the Elegoo Uno Super Starter Kit with tutorial, with all the things that we've gone through, is currently $35.99 Canadian dollars. So that's going to be in the 20s for American. And the car kit is only $70 Canadian at the moment, which, if you think about it, and you know, obviously I'm reserving my final judgment till we actually try and build these and use them, but for what you get, $70 for all of this, including the tutorials and everything else, is not a bad deal. So if it all works as advertised, it should be quite interesting for a lot of hobbyists, teenagers that want to get into electronics and robotics hobbies and things like that. So yeah. Anyway, what else does Elegoo make? Let's go to their own website here. This is their website, so we're on the home page at the moment. I just moved my face away for the moment if I can. Stick it down here somewhere. There we go. So products. We go to products. I keep clicking the wrong screen. As you can see here, we've got a basic project kit which just has some LEDs, some push buttons, jumper wires, resistors, prototyping board and things. That's about $30. These prices here are probably the US dollars now because we're on the Elegoo's own site. We've got a complete sensor kit where you can get additional sensors, jumper kits, the R3 board on its own, their equivalent of the Arduino Mega 2560 board, which is a much more powerful microcontroller. It runs at the same speed, but it has way more I/O and memory and flash space and things like that. Then we have the kit that we've just looked at, which is at $99 on their site right now. How much is that up here? I'm sure that was different. Oh, that's different. Hold on. This is Elegoo Uno Smart Robot Car Kit V3 with line tracking, and that's $70 Canadian. On their own website, Uno Smart Robot Kit V3 with line tracking is at $100. So not sure what's happening there, but anyway. Some of the other things that they have, we have some more advanced kits here with different sets of components. We have some displays that will work with pretty much any Arduino Uno, but obviously it's their own brand. You just plug it straight into the top of the Arduino, which is nice. Coming down here, we've got more kits, more sensor packs. Let's flip through. What else do they sell? Relay boards, up to 8-way. What's this one? 4-way relay board. We've got stepper driver boards by the look of it. Lots of different breadboards, various robots, little walkie robots and things. 3D printers, if you're into 3D printers. They have the Mars UV photo curing, so this is a resin-based printer. I haven't seen one of those yet, but I've never reviewed a resin-based printer yet. Reviewed plenty of SLA printers, like filament plastic additive printers. So what else have we got in here? Just want to have a quick look. Actual resin supplies, which is nice. More robot kits. These ones you got to solder up and wire up and things like that. Prices don't seem too bad. Looks like there's a little bit of inconsistency on the pricing on Amazon versus their own site. Maybe on Amazon they've been having a sale or something like that. Anyway, yeah, that's the basic introduction and quick overview of those two kits. I would say that the Super Starter kit here, I wouldn't really expect somebody younger than about maybe 11 or 12 to be tackling this. It depends on the kid, really. But, you know, it would need some adult supervision to start with, at least. Not much from a mechanical assembly perspective. It just plugs in the breadboard and things like that, you know, dropping wires in. For the robot kit, of course, you're screwing things together. You've got much higher powered batteries. So there is a chance of damaging something more with this. Little 9-volt battery is not going to do a lot of harm to anything, but a couple of 18650s could deliver quite a punch if they were shorted out or something like that. It would certainly melt some wires, you know, in it. You've got motors and everything else in here that you're playing with. Nothing to stop you taking some parts of this one and actually hooking it up to the other kit either. But I would probably put this one at somebody that's maybe 2 or 3 years older. The programming is certainly going to be more advanced. Anyway, I'll reserve the rest for when I'm reviewing the two individual kits, putting them together, trying out some of the tutorials. In the meantime, we'll call it quits for now. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, well then don't. But I will be bringing some more out with some Arduino tutorials very soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.